In this video, what I want to do is show you how I've made this surfboard rack. Now, I looked around online and I really couldn't find a lot. There's one guy on eBay that sells a rack like this. I think they're called Jay's racks. However, he was over £100, and the issue with this system was I needed to get to the inside of the van to install the surfboard rack, and unfortunately when I converted this van I've put the walls up, which means I can't get to the inside to secure these in place. So if you're in the same position as me and you don't want to take all of your walls down to get your surfboard mounted on the side of your van, then follow along for this video and I'll show you how to make this surf rack for your van for under £100. So the first thing I needed was some good mounts. I considered making these myself, but I found these awesome J racks from Surf Dome and I got them for £35 next day delivery on offer. The first thing I needed to do when they arrived was create a horizontal slot in the top to allow me to attach ratchet straps. So I did that by drilling a hole and then using a jigsaw to cut away the material that I didn't want. Second hole down I made into an 8mm hole, and then I needed to move the foam that comes with the J mount down the actual rack, find the centre and then drill a hole so that I would be able to create a second fixing point to connect it into the van. So I decided to drill the second hole out to a 10mm hole, and this was to give me a couple of millimetres of tolerance to make sure that the M8 bolts seated in the rivet nut later on, just to allow a little bit of movement in case they weren't perfectly lined up. After I did this, I then got a pencil, stuck it through the hole so I could find where the hole was through the foam, and then used a Stanley knife to cut away the excess. That was just to allow me to get a clear view of that bolt hole. Now it's time to mount the J rack on the side. So I'm going to go off this line here, and it's going to be a few millimetres below, but once I'm happy with the line or where I want it on the van, I'm going to mark my hole. I'm now going to go through with a very small drill bit and make sure that I'm not going to catch any wires or anything on the other side. Then I'm going to use a step drill bit to make sure it doesn't shoot through, and then I can just inspect the hole each time the step drill bit goes up a few millimetres. In my case, I drilled the holes out to 12mm. It may vary depending on the size of rivet nut or the manufacturer of rivet nut that you're using. So I'm going to get it on the gun here, put it in, and then just squeeze the rivet nut gun as you would, and then tighten the thread up and then go for a second time and a third time until I can get as much pressure on that rivet nut as possible. Once I'm confident that that is in securely, then I can remove the rivet nut gun totally, and I can repeat the process further down. Now I will just say, when I'm mounting this, there is no spreader plates on the inside of the van, so you are relying on these rivet nuts to hold the weight of whatever you're going to secure to the vehicle. So really take your time here and make sure that these are inserted correctly. Once that step is complete, we've got our M8 stainless steel bolt here with a spring washer and then a normal washer as well. The spring washer is just going to help it to make sure that the M8 bolt doesn't rattle loose when we're driving along. So once they're in, I'm going to secure the top point in place. That then enables me to take a tape measure and measure between the two J mounts, between the front one and the rear one, and make sure that they are as level as possible. Once I'm happy that they are level top and bottom, or equal distance top and bottom on the surf rack, then what I can do is mark the hole and begin drilling the next point out for the next rivet nut that's going to be put in place. So I've sped this bit up because it is exactly the same process as the hole above. Now this is where it's going to come into play, where you've left that slightly larger hole on the bottom. If there's a millimetre difference between the hole on the rack and the mounting on the van, you're still going to be able to comfortably get that M8 bolt in there. Now I've made sure I use stainless on these, but now it's time to get the ratchet straps in place. So because of the bodywork on my vehicle, I've got that ridge line at the top, so I need to loosen the top of the mount off in order to get the ratchet strap behind it. Now for putting surfboards, kayaks, stand-up paddle boards on vans, there are straps called Kanulocks which you can buy, which lock in. However, these can be cut off with a decent pair of tin snips, so I've decided to just use normal tie-down straps. So it goes through the upper part of the rear one first and then through the front one. I'm then going to tie those in together and then leave those in position so that I can get the surfboard in to do a dry fit. Now as you can see, I'm coming around the corner here, so those straps are in place front and rear. You can do this with one person, it doesn't require two people if you leave a little bit of slack to allow the board to move in, and voila. I just want to make it clear that if you are doing this surf rack, you need to make sure every time before you drive off that you are checking that the nuts and bolts are tight and secure, and that the surf rack is well positioned and mounted to make sure that it's not going to come off. Make sure that you use anti-vibration washers, and check the description below for links to all of the products I've used in this video which will help you fit this surf rack. I hope it gets you on the beach with your surfboard and your van. Take care.